Welcome to The Marketing Behind Rapid Growth, the podcast where we explore the strategies, decisions, and growth engines behind some of the world's most successful technology companies. Today, we're talking about ElevenLabs. Picture a living room in Poland, sometime in the early 2000s. A foreign film is playing on television. There's an explosion on screen. A character is crying in the next scene. And through it all, one flat, monotone male voice reads every single line of dialogue, no matter who's speaking, no matter what's happening. That was the standard style of dubbing in Poland at the time. Two kids watching those films separately found it almost unbearably irritating. Neither of them knew it yet, but that irritation would eventually turn into a multi-billion-dollar company. This is the story of ElevenLabs, and it's a story about something more interesting than just building a good AI model. It's about what happens when a company treats marketing not as a budget line, but as an engineering problem. Let's start with the two people at the center of it. Maciej Staniszewski and Piotr Domkowski grew up sharing that same small, specific frustration with dubbed films. They became friends, and then, like a lot of talented people from that generation, they scattered into the tech industry. Staniszewski went to Palantir, Domkowski went to Google. Different companies, different problems to solve. But the thing neither of them could quite shake was that the world's voice technology still hadn't caught up. By 2022, while most of the industry was busy chasing crypto and the metaverse, the voices coming out of Siri and Alexa still had that same robotic flatness they'd noticed as kids watching dubbed movies. So they started a company on a simple, almost stubborn premise, that AI could finally give machines a voice as natural as a human's. What happened next is the kind of growth curve that makes other founders nervous. Within about 4 years of founding ElevenLabs in 2022, the company reached an $11 billion valuation and crossed $500 million in annual recurring revenue. That's not just fast. That's a pace almost no software company in history has matched. And here's the thing that makes this story worth 50 minutes of your time instead of a single headline. The breakthrough was never just the algorithm. ElevenLabs is one of the clearest case studies available right now in how workflow-centric product design, combined with a deliberately engineered marketing engine, can turn a technical advance into something people simply default to using. Let's get into how they did it. From novelty to workflow. Every great growth story has a clarifying moment, a point where the founders see something in how customers are actually using the product that nobody on the team anticipated. For ElevenLabs, that moment came early, not long after the beta version of their text-to-speech tool went live. The founders started noticing something strange in the usage data. People weren't just generating short voice clips, they were pasting in entire manuscripts. Chunk by chunk, page by page, they were generating audio and stitching it together themselves, manually assembling full-length audiobooks. And the quality was good enough that the output passed convincingly as a human narrator. Now, most companies would file that under interesting edge case and move on. ElevenLabs did the opposite. They treated it as a directive. Here's the strategic insight buried in that moment. If users are willing to do that much manual work just to get the output they want, you are massively underselling your own product. The lesson the founders drew was that selling a raw voice generation API, essentially a tool that spits out audio when you ask it to, was actually the small, modest ambition. The much bigger opportunity was to own the entire audio workflow, end to end. So that's what they built toward. ElevenLabs expanded from a single-point solution into a full suite. A dubbing studio for localizing video into other languages, a reader product for consuming text on the go, voice design tools for crafting custom voices, and eventually conversational AI agents and even music generation. The bet underneath all of this is worth sitting with, because it's a bet a lot of AI companies are making right now without saying it out loud. Foundation models, the core AI engines, eventually commoditize. Everyone catches up to everyone else eventually. But applications that embed deeply into how people actually do their work are far harder to dislodge. You can swap out an engine. You can't easily swap out a workflow your entire team has built their day around. That's lesson one. But a strong product, even one wrapped in a smart workflow, doesn't by itself produce a growth curve like the one ElevenLabs put up in 3 or 4 years. For that, you need distribution. And this is where the story gets genuinely instructive. Marketing is engineering. ElevenLabs treated marketing as something to be engineered, not purchased. That distinction matters enormously, so let's break down exactly what it looked like in practice. There were 3 levers. The first lever was manufactured moments of delight. When the team hit a real milestone, say building voices that could convey genuine emotion or even laugh convincingly, they didn't write up a technical white paper and quietly publish it. They built demos. They sent samples directly to creators, and then they let the reaction spread on its own, organically, without trying to control the narrative too tightly. One of the best examples of this came out of an internal company hackathon. A project called Gibberlink showed 2 AI voice agents recognizing that they were both machines, mid-conversation, and switching into a faster sound-based protocol to talk to each other instead of continuing in human speech. If that sounds slightly unsettling, that's exactly the point. The clip was strange. It was a little eerie, and it was completely irresistible. It ricocheted across X, Reddit, and Discord within days. Notice what ElevenLabs prioritized here. Not things the company wanted to announce, the usual press release instinct, but things people actually wanted to share. That's a subtle but critical distinction in how you think about content. A press release serves the company's agenda. A shareable moment serves the audience's desire to look interesting to their own friends and followers. Get that second one right, and you generate enormous word of mouth at essentially 0 acquisition cost. The second lever was programmatic SEO, aimed squarely at intent. Most companies fight tooth and nail over 1 or 2 obvious search terms. In this case, something like AI voice generator. ElevenLabs didn't ignore that fight, but they didn't limit themselves to it either. They spun up a huge number of long-tail pages. Pages for individual sound effects, pages for specific accents, pages demonstrating capabilities across dozens of languages. The logic was simple. Whatever oddly specific thing a creator typed into a search bar at 2 in the morning, ElevenLabs wanted to already be sitting there waiting. They also built comparison pages, targeting searches like competitor alternative, catching buyers at the precise moment they were actively shopping around and comparing options, which is about as high intent as web traffic gets. And critically, the localized language pages weren't an afterthought bolted on for SEO points. They actually mirrored the product's real multilingual capability, so a creator searching in Portuguese or Japanese or German found a page that matched their language and their need. The third lever was an affiliate flywheel built directly into the creator economy. Instead of spending heavily on traditional advertising, ElevenLabs seeded the product with influential YouTubers and writers, people with existing trust and existing audiences, and gave them a real reason to fold the tool into their actual production workflows, not just mention it in passing. When a creator genuinely saved time using ElevenLabs and shared that with an affiliate link attached, 3 things happened simultaneously. Trust compounded, utility compounded, and acquisition compounded. And it threw off a continuous stream of organic tutorials and backlinks that doubled as top-of-funnel marketing content, all without ElevenLabs writing a single line of that content itself. Stack those 3 levers together: shareable demos, programmatic SEO at scale, and a creator affiliate flywheel. And you get a marketing engine that compounds on itself rather than resetting to 0 every time the ad budget runs out. Risks and trade-offs. No growth story this fast comes without real internal tension, and ElevenLabs hit at least 2 moments that tested the company's instincts. The first was a classic conflict in AI companies. Research purity versus product velocity. Creators kept asking for something that sounds almost embarrassingly simple. A slider to control the speed and pacing of a generated voice. The research team resisted that request for months. Their instinct was that the model should be smart enough to infer the right pacing from context on its own, and that adding a manual control would make the product feel like a clunky legacy editing tool rather than genuinely intelligent software. Meanwhile, growth was stalling. Not because of some deep technical limitation, but because of what was, in the end, a small UX gap. Eventually, leadership stepped in and set a rule. If the research team couldn't crack a problem within a defined window of time, the product team had the authority to ship a manual workaround to bridge the gap in the meantime. The sliders went in. Satisfaction jumped almost immediately, and the company internalized something important: a working balance between AI idealism and user pragmatism. The model didn't have to be perfect today. It had to be useful today, with a clear path toward elegant tomorrow. The second tension was bigger and carried real reputational and regulatory weight, the relationship with the creative community itself, and specifically with voice actors. As generative AI unsettled Hollywood and the broader entertainment industry, voice actors had every legitimate reason to view this kind of technology as an existential threat to their livelihoods. An adversarial relationship with that community wasn't just a PR risk. It was a regulatory one too, in an environment where lawmakers were already paying close attention to AI's impact on creative labor. ElevenLabs chose to diffuse that tension through product design rather than press statements. They launched a voice marketplace, where professional voice actors can license clones of their own voices and earn royalties every single time someone generates audio using them. The company has paid out millions of dollars to that community as a direct result. Think about what that move actually accomplished. By tying its own business model to the financial upside of the exact group of people most likely to resent it, ElevenLabs converted potential critics into partners with a direct financial stake in the platform's success. That's not a marketing tactic in the traditional sense. It's a structural one, and arguably a more durable form of goodwill than any apology tour or sponsorship deal could buy. Operating in 2 time zones. As ElevenLabs scaled, something interesting happened to its revenue mix. It split roughly evenly between 2 very different customer types: individual creators moving through a self-serve, product-led motion, and large enterprises, companies like Deutsche Telekom, Square, and Revolut, buying through long, complex sales cycles. These 2 customer types essentially operate on different clocks. The consumer feedback loop is almost instantaneous. A new voice model can be tested and judged by thousands of creators within hours of release. Enterprise deals, on the other hand, run 6 to 12 months of security reviews, proofs of concept, and compliance checks before a contract is even signed. Trying to serve both of those clocks with one operating model tends to break things. So ElevenLabs organized itself into small, autonomous, cross-functional pods. Teams building for individual creators ran like micro-startups inside the larger company, expected to ship fast and kill features quickly if they didn't find traction. Enterprise teams operated more like embedded consultants, working directly alongside global clients to wire voice agents into telephony systems and internal databases. That dual structure let ElevenLabs keep the reflexes of a scrappy consumer app, while still landing the kind of durable, lucrative contracts that come with being an enterprise platform. Most companies pick one identity and stretch awkwardly toward the other. ElevenLabs built the organizational structure to genuinely hold both at once. What operators should take away? So what does all of this actually mean if you're building something yourself? First, workflows beat APIs. A foundation model is a starting point, not a business on its own. The defensible value comes from abstracting away complexity and owning an entire end-to-end workflow around one specific, painful job that someone needs done. Second, marketing can be engineered, not just funded. ElevenLabs didn't buy its growth so much as architect it, combining programmatic SEO, product-led affiliate loops, and genuinely shareable demos into a single compounding engine. The cheapest distribution channel any company can build is a product feature that people simply can't help showing their friends. Third, embrace the incumbents you might displace. Disruption doesn't require destruction. By creating real income for voice actors through licensing, ElevenLabs turned a natural adversary into something closer to a network effect. And fourth, ship the workaround. Don't let the pursuit of an elegant, fully autonomous model delay product-market fit. If the AI can't solve something natively today, give users a manual interface that solves it today, and let the elegant solution catch up later. Conclusion. ElevenLabs' story starts with a shared childhood annoyance about badly dubbed films and ends, at least for now, as one of the fastest scaling companies in software. But the real lesson isn't really about voice technology at all. It's a reminder that the model is only ever half the story. Giving machines a convincing voice was the technical achievement. That part alone wouldn't have gotten ElevenLabs to an $11 billion valuation. The commercial achievement, the part that actually built the company, was constructing the product surface, the brand, and the distribution machinery that gave the rest of the world a reason to listen. And more importantly, a reason to keep coming back. This was the marketing behind rapid growth. See you in the next episode.